Hey, welcome to the Boat Dealer Profits Podcast. I'm Matt Selhorst, your host, the creator of the Splash System, and I'm committed to helping you sell more boats, make more money, and have more fun. Super excited about our guest today, Matt O'Hara. He's a franchise owner from the Freedom Boat Club. I'll read his bio here real quick for you. Matt and Rebecca O'Hara are the Freedom Boat Club franchise owners serving the Lake George area in upstate New York. Matt is also the host of the popular Anchors Away podcast for all boaters, from aspiring to experienced, featuring in-depth conversations with boating experts, industry leaders, and it's packed full of tips, tricks, gear, and industry info. If you haven't subscribed, you definitely need to check that one out. And it's for boaters of all levels, and they'll come away with new skills and knowledge in each episode. His podcasts have featured such guests as Wanda Kenton-Smith, legendary industry marketer and marketing leader at the Freedom Boat Club, Reagan Hines from Soundings Trade Only, and Jim Palmer, a business coach and live-aboard going up and down the East Coast right now with a love of boating and the boating lifestyle. And Jim just happens to be my personal business coach and mentor, which is pretty cool that Matt had him on, unbeknownst to me. And Matt, I'm excited to talk to you today. One, because of your marketing background, and two, really your initiative that you've taken to start your podcast. And I can't wait to get your opinions, your experience and insights for other opportunities to sell and promote the boating lifestyle. But before we get to any of that, we've got some more important topics to cover. I've got to say congratulations on the new addition to the family.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, daughter number 2, and they are both enthusiastic boaters, or soon-to-be enthusiastic boaters. Our 2-year-old loves being on the boat, and all summer, all she says was, "Daddy boat, daddy boat, daddy boat," and we're wearing a life jacket. And we're hoping daughter number 2 has the same passion for boating that our first daughter has.
Yeah, that's great. I remember our second. I've got 2 girls as well. Our second daughter, Emery, she was born in January, so we had her out on the boat like it was March or April for an early show. And the first time you put on their life jacket, you're just waiting, like, is it a smile or is it a cry? And we got a little giggle out of her. So the first time she was laughing, she thought it was great. I'm like, yes. So
perfect.
Hopefully you've got a similar experience. So let me start by asking you, what led you down the path? Because I know you were in marketing before you got into the Freedom franchise. But what got you on the path starting to get the franchise there on Lake George, and how did that ultimately lead to you getting into podcasting for the boat industry?
Sure. Before I get into it, Matt, just I want to say you're doing a great job. I've enjoyed listening to your podcast so far, and love what you're doing for people in the industry and dealers. And I'm sure that everyone who's been listening is already selling more boats. So thank you for having me. I'm definitely happy to be a part of it, and keep up the great work. And we'll get into my story a little bit here. So yeah, I spent 10 years after college in the advertising business. I worked for CBS Television and Digital doing ad sales. So I worked with, clients like Ford and McDonald's, and big national clients down to one-off local businesses, ad agencies, you name it. And one of my clients while I was in Boston happened to be the Freedom Boat Club down in Cape Cod, owned by 2. So you're Matt, I'm Matt, the 2 Matts. I guess if you want to go in the boating business, you got to be a Matt.
Yeah, it's a good start. Yeah,
I got to know the 2 Matts down there. I got to know the Freedom Boat Club business pretty well, just through them and through the advertising they were doing with me, and really just loved their business and really loved the Freedom Boat Club model. They were down in Cape Cod at the time. They've since expanded and pretty much cover the whole coast. I think they've got about a dozen locations now in Massachusetts. So I had an outside view of their growth and the popularity of the Freedom Boat Club and the membership boat model, and again, just thought it was brilliant and something that we were seriously considering joining as members. And as life changes, I met my now wife, who had ties to Lake George. Her grandmother has been here since 1942, and she spent her whole life boating on the lake and spending her summers up here. So we started coming up to Lake George, a place that I had never even been to prior to meeting her. and just got to be out on the water a lot and be out on the boats. And I didn't have a huge background in boating growing up in terms of owning a boat. My family never owned a boat. I was fortunate to have a lot of friends with boats and had some really awesome adventures, deep sea fishing out in Montauk and sailing through the Virgin Islands and doing some really cool stuff on other people's boats. And it was something I always loved and loved to be a part of. And so, you know, being up on Lake George and being able to do it was awesome. And then we started thinking about family and where we wanted to raise family. And that happened to be up here in the North Country. So we needed to put the pieces together of, okay, well, we know we want to move upstate. We know we want to be near Lake George. What do we want to do? For me, her background was in nonprofit management. She worked at Mass General Hospital. Again, I worked at CVS in Boston, the top, while I was there, anywhere between 5 and 7 market in the country. So taking those skill sets and then coming to upstate New York didn't have as much appeal, just naturally going to smaller markets and doing things on a smaller scale. And it just kind of struck us that there's so many people that want to be out on Lake George and so many people that want to get into the boating lifestyle, but for a lot of different reasons that we can talk about as later when we talk about promoting the industry, it just wasn't a realistic thing for them, and thought, man, you know, this boat club could really be a way that we could create a lifestyle for ourselves and our family that we would love, a job that we would love getting up and doing every day,
right? And
a service for people here that would get more people on the water and get more people involved in boating. And really our day to day is making people smile and making people have fun and facilitating memories and great experiences. And the thought of doing that and also being able to make a living after seeing the growth that Freedom had seen, we kind of put all that together and said, let's leave the corporate world, let's take a leap, and let's get this thing going.
That's awesome. I love the story of going from, you know, something that you're successful in and making the conscious decision to get into an industry that you know you're going to have a love for. You know, going to the lake every day for work and being around the boating lifestyle for a career choice is, it shows in everything that you do, the commitment to making it successful and the love of boating with your podcast and everything else you guys do. So how did
get back there? Yeah. So we live down in Saratoga Springs, and I have about a half-hour drive up to the marina every day. And I've been a podcast listener. I really enjoy podcasts, and if I'm going to be spending that time in the car, to me, I love listening to music, but at the same time, I feel like it's a time to also take advantage of learning. I listen to podcasts that I feel like I get useful information and I can learn something from, you know, not just the fantasy football podcast or whatever. I want to, although before draft time, I might have listened to a couple, but anyway, so I figured I'd have a half hour each way every day to pipe in and just kind of tune into the boating industry and see what's going on and learn some things. And as I was searching, I just didn't find really anything that fit the format that I enjoy, which is these long-form interviews, one-on-one, where you really get a lot of information. You get to know the subjects involved, the people involved. Just didn't see that out there. And I had the media background. I didn't really have a podcasting background, but I figured, you know, I'm a smart enough guy. I think I can figure this out, and did a lot of research into how to do it, how to record it, how to go about it, and thought I had a handle on it. So luckily a friend of mine volunteered to be my guinea pig and be my first guest, and we may have recorded it more than once.
Yeah,
Get it right.
We talked about that. We talked about that before we started the official interview of backup recording. So yes, I understand.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, to me, you know, it's a way, again, another way. A lot of people now in the industry are talking about reaching millennials, and millennials are such an important part of the buying segment as the average age of boaters goes up every year. People are aging out of the industry, and we need to fill those bodies with younger people buying boats, joining boat clubs, getting on the water. And, you know, that kind of coincides with who's listening to podcasts and different forms of media. And so it seemed like a way to provide information, provide education, provide just fun stories from the water from people in the industry and in the lifestyle, reach that segment of the population that we're trying to reach, and primarily, that's millennials and younger people who are listening, to the podcast on their phone, on the subway, on their way to work, and really using media differently than the older generation and the people that we would consider your average voter right now.
Yeah, you mentioned the older generation and the marketing medias of, I'm a big fan of online video, obviously having the podcast and listen to podcasts. It's a media that you do it once, you invest, figuring out, and I've got to say thank you for helping me. Before I started my podcast, I came across yours, and I think it was the press release that you put out, so you had just got started, and you took time to kind of coach me through, hey, here's some things to look out for. Definitely do a backup recording was one of your pieces of advice. The technology, and come to find out, it's not as difficult as it might initially seem. Especially now that you've done. How long has it been? A year?
It's been about a year. Yeah, I wanted to get my first one done before last year's franchise conference. So we go down to Florida every year for a big franchise conference. There's about 150 Freedom Boat Clubs around the country. We all get together, and I kind of made up a deadline for myself because I was putting it off.
Yeah,
I can't do it. And finally I said, all right, I'm going to do it. Here's a deadline, and then I had last year's franchise conference as the deadline. So yeah, it's just been about a year.
Yeah. So where I was going with that rambling sort of way was, it's now that you've put the effort in and you figured it out, and the first couple were a struggle, and maybe you missed recording a few here and there, and the backup didn't work out, but now you've got it down, and you have a year's worth of interviews that people can go to forever. For the next 10 years, they can go and they can listen to your interview with Jim Palmer about, selling his house and moving on his 50-foot yacht to go down to Florida and maybe do the loop and still run his business. And you've got the interview with Wanda and with some of the other vendors and suppliers in the industry that just have great insight and great knowledge to share with the general public that may be considering voting. And now, you've created it once, and you can use it forever, and it's going to be valuable to, somebody that's 10 years old right now, that in 20 years when they're thinking about buying a boat, hey, they can go listen to an old podcast. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool to say that, we get our show stats and we can see what episodes are being listened to and downloads and all that stuff. And still, there'll be download of the first one that I put up a year ago, and you kind of wonder how someone found something from a year ago. But all this stuff is kind of evergreen, and once it's there, people can find it however and whenever they want.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about in my system, my Splash system, I talk about the educational spectrum of a boat buyer and people are always getting on the educational spectrum. Hey, honey, maybe we should get a boat, or maybe we should join the boat club or go rent a boat, and thinking about getting involved. And there's somebody that has made the decision and bought a boat or joined a club and sold a boat. And it's like a conveyor belt. There's always new people coming on and old people dropping off. So, they don't care that it was recorded as long as the information's relevant. They don't care that it was recorded a year ago. It's an interesting conversation about boating that gives them insights that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, but one of the things I love finding out from all the guests is I usually start a little bit with their background of how they got into boating, and it's amazing hearing when you talk about the conveyor belt, people are always getting on and off. Just there's no set way that's into boating. Everyone's got different stories of where life and who introduced them to it. Their grandfather was a fisherman, or their friend took them out for a weekend, and some people get into it young, some people get into it when they're older. But everyone's got a really different story, and everyone remembers very vividly how they got into boating.
Right.
That first introduction always stands out. They know exactly when that first time they got in a boat is, and it's like remembering it from yesterday, no matter how long ago it was.
Well, it goes to show how, the reason you chose this industry is it's not, you're not selling widgets. You're doing something that, and sometimes we can forget about it in the day-to-day grind of any business, but you really are impacting families and individuals for a lifetime. I mean, your wife, when did your wife get into boating? You said she grew up around the Lake George area?
Yeah. For as long as she can remember. I mean, she was on a boat. She was probably a few months old. So.
She's probably like me and yourself, even with your experience and so many other your guests, boating isn't a hobby for a lot of folks. It's part of them. It's whether they have a boat or not at that particular time, they're boaters, and it's a point of identification. And that's a pretty cool thing to do, to introduce new folks to that, and introducing your kids and other people's kids to that lifestyle. So how have you used your podcast and the other concepts like that to promote the boating lifestyle? And ultimately, I would assume that your podcast is designed to generate potential prospects to join your club. Is that true, or is it a different end result you're looking for?
But I kind of think of it as, number one is just promote the boating lifestyle, and to more people that want to get into boating, just the better everyone in the industry is. And in terms of my club and growing my business, I kind of look at it like a hockey assist. I don't know if you're familiar with hockey at all, but the guy who scores the goal, that to me would be scoring the goal, be getting a new member. The first assist is the guy who makes the pass that leads to the goal, and that's a lot of our different Facebook advertising and more direct stuff. This is kind of that second assist. So it's the pass that leads to the pass that leads to the goal. I hope to get, some people calling me about the club because of it. But the things that have become available, the opportunities available, the press, the people I've been able to meet and connect with, who are then coming up with other ideas, that's been the biggest benefit to me. I had Christian Fraunhofer from Seatow on and found out a little bit about the Seatow Foundation and the Designated Sober Skipper campaign. And as a result, we ended up being a Designated Sober Skipper participant here on the lake, and we got wristbands that we gave out, and we got some press because of it. And that's all because, of who I had on the podcast. And talked to Scott Croft from Boat US, and Boat US has a life jacket loaner station program, and we applied to be a life jacket loaner station, and the newspaper picked it up, and people read about us through that because of who I had on the podcast and ideas that come up from the people I'm talking to. So it's less explicitly, hey, this is all the great things about Freedom Boat Club, you should join the Freedom Boat Club, and these are all the great things about boating, these are all the great things happening in the industry. And the opportunities, again, the people I'm connecting with, the opportunities that come as a result of those then lead to members. So it's not a direct attribution to I sold a membership to this person because of the podcast. People are finding out about our business because of things that are coming from ideas from the podcast, if that makes sense. T. Harv Eker, he's the author of The Millionaire Mindset and some other best-selling books. He has the concept of getting in the corridor. Is you don't know what's down that corridor until you actually walk through that doorway and can have a clear view. It sounds like in your mind your podcast kind of gets you in all these different corridors that could ultimately lead to something that's going to grow your business, and also I found the same thing to be true. Just relationships. I mean, just introduce you to cool people that have a similar interest and, a desire to grow the industry as a whole, in addition to whatever their particular business is. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. I hope you think the same thing, but, aside from all that, it's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, it really is. And it's not as difficult, I don't think, as probably a lot of people listening are like, oh my God, a podcast, I wouldn't even know where to begin. For anybody that's considering maybe doing a boating type podcast in their local market area or doing something, there's yours, Anchors Away. There is The World of Boating, which is a completely different format than yours, and not it's different. We'll say that. What advice would you have to them, and what what things would you tell them why they should maybe consider it?
Well, I'd say without getting into the weeds about what software to use and how to record it and all that.
Yeah, high level.
But have a clear focus in mind of who you want to reach and what information you want to give them, and just be consistent on that, so that you're giving your audience what they're expecting and wanting to hear. And I think you don't want people to listen to one, think they know what it's about, and then tune into the next one and you're in a crazy different direction, and call it your thesis statement. That's what I called it, because I guess I was kind of a nerd at school. My thesis of the podcast is totally next time, and then that listener says, this isn't what I thought it was going to be at all, and unsubscribe, and there you go. So have kind of a clear mission of what you want to do and what you want to give your audience, and just try to be consistent and stay true to it. I think that's pretty important. And then I think the other thing is, don't be afraid to ask people to be on it. Getting good guests is probably the most important thing if the guest format is what you're going for, and it doesn't have to be.
Sure.
You can just be a podcast where it's just you talking and giving information, and those are just as popular. So it doesn't have to be an interview. It doesn't have to be a guest. There are all kinds of different formats that work and that are popular. But if you're doing the guest format, think big and ask. No one's gonna come on if you don't ask them to be on, and you'd be surprised how willing and generous people can be with their time and energy when it gives them a chance to impart some information about themselves and their business, and maybe grow their business, and also gives them an opportunity to have something that they can promote on their website and their social media, and really continue positioning themselves as experts. So that would definitely be a big one. Is it can be a little intimidating, especially at first when you don't have a track record and you don't really have a guest list of previous guests to validate that they should be a guest. It can be difficult, but the only way you can build up that guest list to ask the next person is to ask the person before. So be bold and don't be afraid. And the worst thing that can happen is they'll say no, and even when they do, they're usually pretty nice about it. So
right. Yep.
Come up with a dream guest list and shoot high, and you'll end up with some good ones.
Yeah, it's I found the very similar experience that most people are, once I've had one of my clients was on and she said, I don't know what this is all about, and I'm nervous, but yeah, I'll do it. It's something that I think a lot of people take as a compliment that you would ask them, and in addition to promoting their business, I think it's promoting a passion of theirs. I mean, they're just like you and I are in the industry because, we had a connection, and it was a conscious decision. It's not an accidental industry. Most other people have that same connection. They would do anything in their power to promote the boating lifestyle and what they feel is important about it.
Now, your client is a boat dealer, right? Did she do anything after the fact? Did she promote, that she was on it, or provide a link to it or anything like that to help reach her customers, or do you know?
She didn't. And partly it's because the format of the podcast in her situation is, we're talking about, hey, what strategies are you using to help you sell more boats? So it was more,
right. So it's not really reaching the consumer.
Yeah. But I have, like Jim Jabay of Lot Vantage, Jason Roberts of Sure Shade, and Bob McCann at the MRAA have been on, and yeah, they all promoted it via social media. And I've got a team. I'll call it a team, but two people that help me with the podcast and some other of my marketing things that. They'll email out a social media post, a Twitter post, and a LinkedIn post, I think. Maybe there's another one in there, but they just email that to the guest, and you'll get a similar to say, hey, share this with anybody that you want to, put it up on your website, use it however you can to help promote your business, because it's good for everybody then.
Fantastic. Yeah, Jim's was. I was just listening to Jim's today. He did a good job with him too.
Yeah, he's a smart fella. Yeah. So what, are there any ideas that you have for other podcasts? I mean, you've been doing it for a year now. You have great success. You've had some amazing guests on and some really good information. Anything that you're thinking, hey, here's where I'm going next with this, or adding to, or anything along those lines?
There really isn't right now. The biggest thing is just getting great guests, and the cool thing about the industry is there's just so many interesting people that I feel like I could do this for 20 years and not run out of fun people and interesting people to talk to.
Right.
Down the road, possibly, but we've got a lot going on with the boat club right now, and expanding this, which is our primary business. So my wife does have to remind me that we need to keep the focus on that sometimes. With the 2 kids and some other things going on, and adding to the podcast repertoire probably isn't in the cards right now. But continuing to grow and improve the one that I currently do is definitely something I'm going to keep working on. And a big part of that is getting better as an interviewer and asking better questions, and just keep getting great guests.
Yep. Yeah. One of the things that I've had a client and I've talked about doing, but I don't know whether he's done it or not, is just do a short form. In his case, it was a video podcast that could be converted to audio as well, but just a boating report, a local boating report of 10, 15 minutes of just, hey, here's what's going on in our local boating area. Here's some things to consider, maybe a tip or two, and just real short to the point, but very, very local. Here's what's happening on Lake George. Here's where the fireworks that are coming up for the 4th of July, and there's this fishing tournament, and there's this event happening. I think things like that would be a cool idea for somebody like yourself, especially if you're on the water.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great idea. And again, that would be something that you could really use to drive that direct attribution. People heard that and they called you, and you become the local expert. And when they think about boating on Lake George or boating wherever your other clients are, you're the person they call for whatever. Even if you're the cobalt dealer like that woman, but they're looking at something else. Maybe she's their first call because they know her voice and they trust her, and they end up being a cobalt buyer just because they have a good conversation with her. So that's a great idea to really connect with the local market.
Yeah, and it's your analogy.
Now I wish you asked me that question again. Now I wish you would ask me that question again.
Well,
I'll give you that answer.
I've got the advantage of thinking about what we're going to talk about and what some different directions we could go, some conversations that I want to get going. So I've been thinking about it for a while. But you feel free to steal that one if your wife won't curse me if she ever meets me. Feel free to use that one, just nice and easy. But no, it takes you from your analogy of being the second assist. It takes you up to the first assist, and I think that's a concept that as somebody in the industry, you've got to take that step back of, I want everything and I get guilty of this myself, but I want everything that I do to be directly attributed to my next sale. And sometimes the quickest way to the next sale is by taking a step or two back and saying, I'm going to make this podcast just very, very general to lead to opportunities that are going to lead to the next thing that's going to lead to a sale. And a more local podcast gets you down to that first assist, but it's not, and I always tell my clients that it's what you're doing. Your marketing is not designed to sell a boat or to get somebody to join the boat club. It's designed to get you an opportunity to talk to that person to sell your boat club or to sell the boat.
Right.
And I think you've done a great job with that and Freedom as well overall with some different tactics and techniques like that.
There's a realtor up here who focuses a lot on luxury properties in the Adirondacks, lakefront properties, not just on Lake George but other lakes, and he started something similar to what you're talking about, just a video show called Live New York, Live NY. And it's just local there was a lake episode, there's a Saratoga Springs episode, there's different episodes, and they're only about 6-7 minutes each, about what's going on in the region and what's happening in different areas and cool spots and things to do. And it's exactly what you're talking about. He's not saying, here are my listings, come buy this house. He's saying, I'm the man who knows what's going on in the Adirondacks in all these different places. So when you're thinking of moving here, let's talk, because now you know who I am. You know I'm connected to everything that's going on in the area. Here's my number. So it's kind of what you're talking about, that local podcast, and he's doing a great job with it. And it's something that could be translated into boating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if that was the same one that was on your Facebook page,
it was.
Yep. Okay, yeah, I saw it sitting out in the water in a bow rider, and I was like, hey, that's something I got to watch. I'm researching for the show, but anybody talking in a boat or doing anything on a boat, I'm probably going to watch that video if I'm on Facebook or come across it in any format, really. That's fantastic having that. And I could imagine, I don't know if you know him personally, but I could imagine that the clients he worked with are so much more fun and easier to work with, and probably less, in our world, I would call them price sensitive. In that world, it's, they still have the price of the house they have to afford, but just easier to work with and less concerned about, oh, he's gonna charge for this or be price conscious.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
What other, you took the initiative when, nobody was doing a similar podcast in the industry. What other initiatives or events or anything have you done on the local level to promote your boat club that you're like, man, I'm really proud of that, or I got exceptional results, or man, I really thought that was going to work and it didn't? Is there anything that jumps to mind along those lines?
Yeah, we do a lot of outreach. Up here we have call it a 6-month boating season, but that's probably generous. It's about a 5-month boating season. So we've got an off season, and we have time to promote the club and do different things. And so we think a lot about what our target customers and what people who are interested in the boating lifestyle are doing when they're not boating, and that's a big part of the year. So one of the things we did last year was we partnered with a local ski mountain. There's a lot of overlap there between skiers and boaters, and
oh, sure,
they're interested in the outdoors. There are a lot of them, young families. They have disposable income, and we thought that the ski market and the boat market really align nicely and don't compete because they're different seasons. We partnered with a local mountain and did some cross-marketing with them on social media. We set up our informational table kind of like we would set up for a boat show in the ski lodge 10 different days throughout the winter, and got to talk to a lot of people about boating. Some had already heard of us, which is cool because it's a local mountain. Some hadn't, but there really were a lot of people who do both activities and who were open to talking about boating. And it's a nice thing too because they're sitting in there drinking a cup of hot cocoa, warming up from a cold day out on the mountain, and it's kind of nice to start talking about boating and thinking about the summer again to really warm you up. So it's only a good thing that we're really happy with, and hopefully a partnership we can continue. And I think there's a lot of ways to use other local businesses, and I don't mean use them. I mean, connect with them and utilize
a win-win on both sides. Yeah.
Right. And to partner and to promote each other, and that's something we want to spend a little more time on this off season too, is just, connect with more local businesses and figure out how we can work together to promote the boating lifestyle, promote their business. Our business is a little different because we're a membership club, so we're able to provide them with access to members of a type that we can define for them. And so, the opportunity for them to promote themselves to our members, the opportunity for us to get in front of their customers is pretty good. So I think there's a lot of different ways to connect with local businesses that reach potential boaters that don't compete. At our last Eastern New York Marine Trades Association, we were talking about the boat show. Ours is in March, and one of the dealers brought in for their VIP night this $100,000 piano to play for their VIPs, and other dealers were saying, "Oh, well, how'd you do it?" He goes, I just called them. I said, hey, we're doing a VIP night. Can you send a piano to play? And all the company wanted in return was to put their business cards out there. So there's a lot of businesses want to reach the people that we're reaching, and I think it's incumbent on us to get creative to figure out ways to work together.
Yeah, and it's, that didn't cost much of anything for, whether they paid to have the piano moved or if the piano company did it. And it set them apart, gave a great experience. For you, setting up the booth at the ski lodge, I can't imagine was a significant investment other than time. And you reached a whole new community in a time where, other people in the industry are, taking it off. Hey, nobody's thinking about boating when the snow's on the ground up here in the Adirondacks. It's, we're wasting your time. And you're out there doing something innovative and inexpensive that was probably generated a bunch of leads for you.
Oh yeah, yep, got a lot of leads.
Oh yeah.
And we weren't no one was signing up for the club and they're not going to buy a boat at the ski mountain, right? So maybe they're not really thinking a purchase decision, but they're sure as heck willing to think about what they're going to be doing in the spring, whether they're ready to perform the call to action right away or not. It's still a great time to reach people.
Yeah, it puts them. I mean, it's that first and second assist analogy is, being there isn't going to be what sells you it, but hey, now you've met them. Now you've got them on your email list, or what I would call a 24/7 selling machine. And when you have an event, when the weather warms up, I would venture to say that you're going to see somebody that you met up there, at that weekend at the ski lodge. And those are the opportunities that, and I knew having you on just because you took the initiative to do a podcast when that was so outside the norm. I don't know that we'll ever get to a point where every local market has a podcast and a dealer or somebody in the industry stepping up. But I knew that you would have that, hey, we can't just do the same thing that's been done for the last 40 years in this industry. We've got to do something that's a little bit different and not even crazy, but just something different and outside the norm. That's a fantastic one. And I really love your hockey analogy. I don't know squat about hockey, but that first assist, second assist I love that. That's great. If you hear me say it on a future podcast, I'll try to remember to give you credit. Okay, try not to steal your material. So, what other thoughts do you have as it relates to what you've seen? And I don't want you to throw any competition under the bus, so we'll keep it generic. But anything, especially when you were in your CBS role and in the marketing world, or before you got started with Freedom. Anything that you saw and said, man, there's a huge opportunity in the boating industry because this is what I'm seeing or this is what I'm not seeing. Anything that jumps out to you there?
Well, I guess I kind of have a little bit of a unique perspective just being an outsider. And so many people that are in the dealership world have grown up in the dealership world and don't have that kind of outside perspective. And
right.
I think there's just a lot of this is the way things have been done, this is the way they're still going to be done, and maybe not a lot of willingness to try new things. And that, that's something that I think is slowly changing, but at the same time, we're in a good part of the cycle right now. The economy's been fairly good for dealers. I think, you read the reports every month and people are pretty happy with where they're at. So there's less of an incentive to do new things, but I think, and we're starting to see it more and more, using video. You touched on that earlier. The manufacturers are really starting to do a great job of it. Video on social media, video on their websites, really sleek, good production. The different organizations are doing it. It's not just dealers. It's a lot of the stakeholders in the industry are focusing a lot on video, and we're doing the same thing corporately with Freedom Boat Club, really producing a lot of great video. And then, on a local level, we're seeing it more with people doing it on their social media, on their Instagram stories and Facebook Live and all that. So coming from the TV world, I thought there was an opportunity to do more video in the boating industry. And in just the 2 years that I've been in it, I've seen a lot of it, and I think we're going to continue to see a lot more of it. Just good content on top of the social media stuff. Really well produced, coming from the manufacturers and some of the bigger companies and the stakeholders in the industry.
Yeah, I interviewed Marcus Sheridan. He's going to be presenting down at Marine Dealer Conference and Expo. I haven't gone live yet, but I interviewed him a couple weeks ago, and he's a boater but does marketing and consulting and content marketing specifically, a generalist, but has a good interest in boating and lives the boating lifestyle. One of the things he said is, I think, or I recommend that every business has a videographer on staff or somebody that's designated as your video person, because, you know, the stats, I don't recall exactly, but like 80 or 90% of people are watching video online now. And that it was something along those lines. But anyway, video is one of the most important content pieces that you can put together that helps tell your story and promote your business and the lifestyle. And it can be anywhere from, I saw from the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show was last weekend, a lot of Facebook Live videos and a lot of video coming out of Fort Lauderdale, just selfie sticks and a boat behind you, all the way to a full-on production and everywhere in between. I think there's great opportunity. Hey, have you used much video? I saw.
I can't think of a better industry that's more suited to video. I mean, it's not like we're selling washing machines.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that really prompts me. I saw a video on your Facebook page with 3 little girls who must have just got out from the water. You're like, what did you like about the boat? What? Tell me about that video, or tell everybody about that video.
So they were really, really great family, great members. 3 little girls who I'll back up even a little more. When they were thinking about joining, they asked if they could come down and go for a ride with the girls, because the girls had never been on boats before. I think they were 6'4" and 2.5, and they just didn't know if the girls were going to like boating, at all. Maybe they're going to get seasick. We don't know. We don't want to make this commitment to a club and then find out that our girls hate boating. So, one of the benefits we have, again, in this industry is if you can get someone out on your boat, go for a 10-minute ride, who's not going to say, man, I'm in, I love it.
That was awful. I don't like this water and the wind in my face and the sunshine. This is terrible.
So they get back, the girls all say, oh, we want to go more. Can we keep going? We love the bumpiness. We love everything. They loved everything. So anyway, they were out a lot. They really, really took advantage of it. And the girls are just getting off the dock one time. I just asked them what they love about Freedom Boat Club or why they love Freedom Boat Club, just kind of spur of the moment. And they just gave really cute answers about why they love boats. And, little things like that are fun to do. They're easy to do. That took me 15 seconds, and it's a video you noticed. It's a video other people noticed. And someone else that might be scrolling through and have kids see those little girls, and now they're picturing their kids out doing the same thing and making their kids happy the way these parents made their girls happy. And so it's so easy to do now, the basic stuff like that, Instagram and Facebook and doing quick videos. But I think we're also seeing a lot more of the really well produced videos too. So having a mix is good. It's just getting easier and easier and easier.
Well, and there's no replacement. There's no sales presentation that you can make that explains the sheer giddiness of those 3 girls and the sheer joy they felt by being out on the water and wanting to come to the boat. I mean, just I don't even know if it was 15 seconds. It was certainly less than 30 seconds, but I mean, there is no way you could express that level of emotion and joy and love of boating than what you did in that short little video clip of those girls. Authentic,
you
real.
Mentioned sorry, yep, keep going. Sorry.
Oh no, that's it.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned like replacing a sales presentation. One of the things I had gotten this recommendation from another former colleague in the TV world who went out and started his own business, and we trade some ideas back and forth. So I got to give him credit for this one. But we all use a CRM. We do sales email marketing through our CRM, and he suggested, and I love the idea, and did it. Instead of writing in your initial email when someone fills out your CRM and they get an email, a couple paragraphs about your business, put together a 20, 30-second video of your business and let them get to see you and know who that person responding to them is and see you sitting on a boat. So we have a 25-second video of me sitting on a beautiful 2017 Regal on a beautiful day on beautiful Lake George, telling them how easy it is for them to be on that boat while we do all the work, we do all the cleaning, we do all the maintenance. All they have to do is show up and take my seat and go. And using video that way in our email marketing as an introduction to our business instead of the written sales pitch, I think has been a pretty effective way to use video and just to be a little different.
Yeah, and brilliant. I mean, there's several things that jump out at me with that idea. And the other thing is, not only did you hear this idea from your buddy, but then you went and implemented it. And now you have a great first step to your email marketing campaign, your 24/7 selling machine that is powerful. They get introduced to you, your face, your voice, your mannerisms. They see the lake, they get the emotion, and they get as close as you can get with an email of the boating lifestyle, a kind of a glimpse into it. And you can use that video until, your hair turns gray, until you no longer look the like you look. So you got 5-10 years of that.
Well, I hate to tell you, Matt, but at 34, my hair is pretty gray already. So,
so
use it for a while, maybe not.
Yeah, until it starts falling out. Now you've got 20 years, 20, 30 years until you start losing it. But I mean, it's kind of like the podcast. It's there that can be used forever. That video now, even if it took you a whole day to produce, and a 30-second video certainly did not. But even if it took you a whole day to put together, you're going to have that powerful message for, years and years and years of driving you a great, a great vision of the Freedom Boat Club on Lake George, and getting all of your big selling points out there to everybody that comes through your funnel, everybody that you met at the ski lodge. I mean, it's just, man, it's just so smart, and I applaud you for taking action on some of these really, really great ideas. So, I appreciate it. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have?
Oh boy, I'm usually not on this end of it. So,
I know you always close with I think your favorite boating spot and your best safety gear. So maybe you could close with that.
Oh, well, I mean, it's really going to be hard to ever beat the trip we took down to the Virgin Islands and being on a sailboat and waking up every morning and just kind of after breakfast deciding which island or which bay you want to go to and then going to do it. And
nice.
It's be hard to ever top that trip. No, I think you're doing a great job. You asked a lot of good questions, and I hope this was helpful. I think the hard thing about these podcasts, or at least the hard thing for me, is, and I feel the same passion from you, is it could be a 2-hour podcast because we could be talking for. So, is there anything else to ask? Sure. I mean, yeah, we could talk about boating all day. Who doesn't want to talk about boating? But I think hopefully there's been enough useful information in here to make a good episode. And in another year, maybe we'll connect for another one, or I'll have you on mine, and we can cover anything we didn't cover on that side of it.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to do it. But hey, man, I appreciate you being on. Continued success. I'm sure you're killing it up there, and you are definitely somebody that's going to help continue to build the boating industry. Just with the things I know that you're doing, there's probably a million others that you're not. So congratulations on all that, and I look forward to meeting you in person someday.
Sounds good. Yeah, I guess if there's one more thing I could leave with, and this has been important for us as Freedom Boat Club, and hopefully, dealers feel the same way, is that, maybe we're all competing for boating dollars, but I think more than competing with each other, we're competing with tennis and with golf and with all the different ways people can spend their recreational time now. I mean, to me, there isn't any better way, and I hope that when my girls are older, I see it with our families now, maybe their 14-year-old daughter doesn't want to hang out with dad at the mall, but if dad says, let's go up to the boat, all of a sudden lame dad becomes cool dad, and daughter's friends want to too. And so, to my mind, we're all selling the best lifestyle and way to spend time with family and promote each other and is important. A lot of people come to me and we feel that the club isn't the best fit for them, and buying a boat is probably a better thing for them, and we're happy to connect them with the dealer of whichever boat we think is the right boat for them. And we hope that it kind of reciprocates too, that if a person walks into a dealership and the dealer knows that person shouldn't be buying a boat, the club's an option. And I think there's enough people that want to enjoy boating and enough people that want to be with family and friends and live this great lifestyle that it's just good for us all to promote each other and promote boating. And whether it's renting, buying, joining the club, they're all great options for someone, and everything's the right option for someone. It's just a matter of figuring out which one that is. And we are more valuable helping them figure out that option than selling them what we want to sell them. Because if we sell them the wrong thing, they're out of boating.
Yeah, they're out of boating right away. Yeah,
might be a customer down the line for another reason. If you join the club, they might fall in love with a boat and go buy a boat.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and we're not going to end the interview right now. You just prompted something else that I wanted to ask you. But yeah, I think you bring up a fantastic point of, we're competitors in a sense, but we're more on the same team than not. So with that said, I think my personal belief is that Freedom Boat Club fits nicely into some dealerships. Is there a way for people to learn more about the boat club and maybe take advantage of it?
Just go to freedomboatclub.com. There's a lot of information on the website. We're actually going to be rolling out a new website pretty soon. But yeah, jump on freedomboatclub.com. We're almost 150 locations around the country now. Going to be, we're international. We have Canada locations, but there's some European and South American locations possibly on the horizon. So it's a really cool business. It's a really cool model. It's a really cool way to enjoy boating. And I encourage anyone that's listening that wants to learn more, just freedomboatclub.com. Find your closest club. You can pretty much find one anywhere you look at this point, and give us a call, and we'll tell you all about how great it is.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think it's just one more access point, one more area to get somebody into boating to sell the next step in boating, whatever that may be. Or I've had clients go the other way, that they said, you know what, we don't have the time or the energy. We're getting older. We don't want to maintain the boat. What boat club would you recommend? So I think it works on both sides. So good. I'm glad you brought that up, because I meant to squeeze that in somewhere, because I really do feel that to be the case, that it could be great. So, well, now on that note, we'll do the second ending here as we're hitting our time limit. But I appreciate everything, man.
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, same here. Appreciate the opportunity to be on here, and keep up the great work.
Hey, that was a great episode with Matt from Freedom Boat Club up in New York. I really appreciate him being on. He shared some great ideas came from this conversation, some unique opportunities to look at partnering, looking kind of outside of the conventional at ways to generate leads, to generate opportunity to get face-to-face with potential buyers and potential clients. So if you have some interest, you've been following me in the Splash system for a while, and you want to take a look at, hey, what are some next steps? We need help in this area. We need to be more systematized. We need to improve our results, and we need to get up with the current way of marketing and selling in the boating industry. you might want to do a couple of things. First, you can go to boatdealerprofits.com and you can check out my splash system there. Maybe a program that's kicking off that fits into your schedule, or you can do one of these self-paced programs where you can kind of fit it in as you go. And those are two opportunities that if you just click on the store section, you will see all three of the splash opportunities. And if you say, you know what, we need help with our marketing. We're just not happy with the results that we're getting, and we need the sales training that comes with it. We want kind of just a one-stop for the whole package. You may want to check out our new Done For You system, which it's just been gaining a lot of interest in having a lot of success from the clients that are using it, where, hey, you know what, all of these things we were looking at and they were great when we had time, but now that we're getting busier and we're just not doing it, and man, we're seeing the results fall off because of it. Matt, why don't you and your team just help us do it? So we can help you with your e-zine creation, your boat preview. Make sure that they're getting out on a consistent and persistent basis. Those are the two keys when it's about the 24/7 selling machine. Setting up the sales funnel, setting up the automated communication pieces that go out, the sales tools that are behind them that make those automated communication pieces work so well. Develop some of the other tools in the educational marketing for you, and and you get quarterly sales training as well as ongoing sales training for any of your new people. That, hey, here's the basis for what you need to know as a salesperson coming in, and that's all wrapped up in the Done For You system. We can do it a la carte. We can do the whole thing for you, and it's customized to your business within the splash system. So you kind of plug in. No more you have to figure out what's going to work, but you actually plug in, hey, here's a proven system. Let's customize it for our dealership. Let's let Matt and his team handle everything. We get the branding right. We get the messaging right. We've got the offers that work, and we plug it into your dealership, and you're off to the races. Not spending more money than you currently are on marketing, but getting better results. So that's really cool. You can go to boatdealerprofits.com/yourmarketing, and you can find some information there on the opportunity. You can also check out any of the webinars. We've been doing a lot of new webinars lately. You can go into the resources section at boatdealerprofits.com, and you can listen to the podcast. You can watch the Boat Dealer Profits TV, but there's also some webinars that are in there and some articles that you may find valuable. Just search for whatever you're looking for in the little search box that's up in the top right, and I promise that you will find something that will be valuable. Keep reading my boating industry articles. I love to get feedback and hear from the people that say, man, I can't wait till your column comes out every issue. That is something that I really appreciate. So there you have it. That's a few of the ways to get in touch, or you can just email us at info@boatdealerprofits.com, depending on whatever topic you want to talk about. Sarah or somebody on the staff here will get it to the right people, and we may be able to set up a call and talk further. So thanks for listening to this episode. Make sure you tune in next time for the Boat Dealer Profits podcast, where we are committed to helping you sell more boats, make more money, and have more fun. Take care.